after the U.S. House of Representatives voted to essentially ban the social media app. A new U.S. bill calls on TikTok owners to sell its American assets within 6 months or be blocked.
On this vote, the yeas are 352, the nays are 65.
The bill was passed with support from both Republicans and Democrats. American lawmakers say they have concerns about the Chinese government accessing user data. TikTok argues a ban would take billions of dollars out of the pockets of creators. There are about 170 million users in the U.S.
So many of our young people in America are on TikTok, and yet their data is at risk. It's about time Congress step up and protect that data. The application can still move forward under this bill, but the Chinese Communist Party will no longer have the ability to access people's data. And that's an important safeguard for families here in America.
All right, let's go to Claudiu Popa on this. He's a cybersecurity expert with Data Risk Canada. Claudiu, to your memory, has any other social media site been asked to do something like this, divest itself to be able to do business in the U.S.?
No, not to my knowledge. The only other company was, in fact, TikTok 4 years ago in 2020, when there was talk about it having to sell itself to Microsoft. And that didn't go through, obviously.
Yeah, Donald Trump wanted to ban TikTok initially. Do you think it's even possible for the parent company here, which is ByteDance, to sell? Because it's a massive company. I mean, who would buy them?
Well, first of all, anyone who could buy them, who could afford them, would create another competitive situation that would cause even bigger antitrust issues than we have today. Secondly, 6 months is an unrealistic time frame for that kind of pairing to occur, for that type of legal due diligence to take place. And third, obviously, forcing the owner of a company to sell their organization, which happens to be the fastest growing social media platform in the world, is, again, unreasonable.
Okay. Has there been any evidence that TikTok poses a security threat or risk? I understand the link to China. I understand that they fear that Beijing would access private information. But has there been any evidence associated with those suggestions?
There has not been. And that's an important question. And I'm glad you asked it, because yes, there are fears. And yes, there are concerns about vulnerabilities in TikTok, allowing potential attackers to grab the mountains of data on users that it's collecting on a daily basis. Yes, there are concerns over involvement of the Chinese government. No, there is zero evidence of anything to that effect, either from a national security perspective or even a privacy standpoint.
Okay, has TikTok or its parent company done enough to build a wall around American data? Because this has been a problem, as you touched on, that has been simmering for a long time. And TikTok has said, we've addressed this. Have they adequately addressed it and protected at least American data from the reach of China?
Well, let's take a look at what TikTok has done. TikTok has effectively, over the past few months, been in contact with the Pentagon, the CIA, the U.S. government, and said, what do we need to do in order to access this massive base of users, which is well over 100 million, some say as high as 170 million. And all of these users are saying we need TikTok for economic reasons, for personal happiness reasons, for connectivity reasons. What they've done is they've said, we will store our data on U.S. soil. We will allow a U.S. company, Oracle, to control that data and to have visibility into that data. We will even go so far as to allow U.S. companies to peer into the source code. There is nothing more that they can do aside from basically saying we will give this company or sell it to a U.S. company. But that would set such a massive precedent that I personally don't see it happening.
And just so viewers understand, how rare is it for a company to say, come look at our source code?
It's extremely rare. And in cases where that has happened, it has brought about massive lawsuits when it was mishandled. There's a huge risk to the company agreeing to it. So for TikTok to agree to such a thing is really a big deal. And it shows the fact that they are collaborating very openly, and they're showing that they have an interest in providing the transparency that everyone seems to be saying is not there. I am completely unbiased. I've never had a TikTok account, but I have been following all the changes that they've been making from the perspective of content moderation, and I can see that they've implemented controls that other platforms really don't have.
Give me an example of that.
Well, content moderation from the perspective of what many have called censorship has been swift, has been extremely quick on TikTok, whereas on places like Facebook, it's been very, very slow. And of course, on X or Twitter, it just doesn't take place anymore. So TikTok has responded to the concerns that have come up over the past 4 years, not just the last 3 to 4 months. And they've basically said, you want content moderation? We'll give it to you, and we'll make it very, very swift and quick when there's messaging that is, let's say, threatening to impact or to influence elections or to impact public sentiment around military activity or various military conflicts going on around the world, or even disinformation for what it's worth.
And we know some of the other platforms have taken years to deal with those
Absolutely.
problems. Claudiu Popa, great to have you on this, sir. Thanks for taking the time tonight to join us.
My pleasure.